Welcome to Doing, Being, Doing, a podcast that is entirely dedicated to the doing and being of facilitators. In many ways, I started this podcast to meet my own needs. My need to learn, my need to connect, my need to do some inquiry, my need to engage with the philosophical and abstract. And in the sixth episode, I am really sitting with a peer and a very dear friend. And I want to tell you a very personal story of this guest. In any profession, doesn't matter what profession you're in, you always have that one person with whom you can sit back and daydream about things that perhaps don't exist today. So really, you're able to look into the future and think of things that might even be hilarious at times, but you can really look into the future and forecast certain things, whether they are patterns, whether they are trends, whether they are practices. And for me, today's guest has been that co-dreamer with whom I have been able to engage with the future and the future of the practice of facilitation over many meals in public parks, in pubs and bars of Bangalore, and over several phone calls on late evenings. So I'm going to bring in my guest for the sixth episode, and that's Arjun Shashidhar.
The way I see it now, right, if I have to give it a caption or a headline, I think my story has been one of finding purpose in chance encounters, or finding a way through randomness. In some sense, it's being schooled by randomness. The label and the nature of this work is so deeply ingrained in what I do. But getting here was one hell of a ride. Filled with randomness, filled with ambiguity, filled with adventure, and sometimes cluelessness, absolute cluelessness.
I think from your story, there are a couple of things that are very, very interesting. One is it's never too late. That's I think that stood out for me quite a bit. The second is, I think in today's time, careers don't need to be linear. So it's not really that you can only work in what you got a degree in or what was your first 3 years of job. So I think the very idea of careers has changed so much. You really can start from anywhere at any time. And I think that, broadly, if one feels that one is interested in creating thriving experiences for people, then there's a lot to explore there. And like you said, being a facilitator is not so much of a title. It is really what you do, the process that you engage with. And I like to believe, if you ask me, I like to believe you started your facilitation journey way back in your first job in hospitality.
There are two pictures I want to paint here. And one is of the world of work where facilitation is a title. It's like it's your designation, it's your role, it's probably the company you run or the venture you run. You are a facilitator, and that's how you position and present yourself, right? And we know so many practitioners in the world of facilitation who build their careers in that track, right? So companies go to them, they run workshops, or they work with organizations where this is the practice. One way to do it is to train to become that and then make that your career. The other world is the world of work where the title of a facilitator doesn't necessarily exist. So you're not being hired, a job is not being advertised as experiential group facilitator, experiential trainer, or process facilitator, and so on and so forth. But the nature of work there is highly facilitative. So this is pretty much the entire world of work. I, for a long time, would try, because at that point, that's your only anchor. In your formative years, training to be a facilitator, your mentor and your mentor's ways of doing things and achieving success, you're seeing how well your mentor does something and how they achieve success with that, or the difference they make. That becomes, for me, a benchmark that I need to be able to do something like this in this manner, because that's when I'll make that kind of impact. And it's such a wow moment for me. that starts to unconsciously kind of get codified as I need to start being this way, talking this way, that whole non-verbal cues, everything, right? It give you a starting point. Yes, it has this tiny role in shaping you as a facilitator, which I don't think one should do away with. Yes, imbibe that spirit of your mentor, that persona is good, but don't do it at the at the cost of unconsciously pushing your element, your whoever you are, out of the picture. Spot opportunities in the frenzy of things, in the busy world of work, when you don't have all the time to reflect and relax. Learn how to spot these. It's like sitting in a high-speed train. When you look out of the window, you see all those trees zipping past, right? And it's a blur, right? How can you clarify that blur while sitting through that pace? This is a wonderful place to learn and to contribute what we've learned about facilitation. It's such a wonderful craft. It's such a beautiful practice, but also it's so hard to learn. It's so hard to imbibe, and it's so hard to understand in the first place. So we as facilitators have the dual responsibility of practicing this craft well, but also in the larger scheme of things, making this craft understood for what it truly is. And that's where there's so much work to be done.